you so much for having me here today. My name is Blake Oliver. I'm a third-year health sciences student at McMaster University, and I'm also the Vice President Education at the McMaster Students Union. So I represent all 22,000 full-time undergraduate students that are enrolled at McMaster University. That's about 4% of Hamilton's population at any given time, and I'm here to talk to you today about why students are in support of LRT. And I especially hope this will be considered in context of a poll that recently came out that didn't manage to reach a lot of my demographic. There are four main reasons that students are really in support of LRT, and I'm going to speak specifically to the McMaster reasons. My colleague from the Mohawk Student Association is also here today to talk about why post-secondary students from across the city are in support of this project and are hoping that Council will approve the environmental project report today. The first is that we pay enormously into the HSR's revenue and operating fee through our mandatory HSR bus pass. Students pay about $150 a year for this pass annually. This year we renegotiated the pass. It's due to increase 20% every year over the next 3 years. We had to put that to a vote for students. As you know, students are strapped for cash, but this passed phenomenally with 92%. Students are huge transit users. They rely on transit to get around the city, and we do contribute a large amount to the operating revenue of the HSR, and we really hope that our voices will be heard as major users of public transit in the city. In terms of actual benefits to the city, just while students are here in their 4 years, they contribute enormously, both socially and economically, to the city. Speaking for myself, I've worked in Hamilton, I've volunteered in Hamilton. I go outside of my ward for dinner to meet up with my friends. My dad's coming to town tonight. We'll probably go down to Locke Street. We like to get out of the city, but we can't do that if we don't have accessible transit to get us there. What we have right now is not enough to get us outside of Ward 1 and really be able to contribute meaningfully outside of the campus bubble. There's also been a lot of opportunities that McMaster and my own students union has taken to try to bridge that gap. McMaster has a new community engagement minor. This council has approved City Lab, which is a project specifically trying to get the university partnering with the city. This can only be better if students can actually get into the city. To speak as well to something that Council has spoken about a lot this year, student housing continues to be an issue, as myself and my Ward 1 councillor know all too well. This very group has talked about increased bylaw enforcement in Ward 1 specifically. The Rental Housing Subcommittee is currently considering landlord licensing in student wards, Wards 1 and Ward 8, that have large student populations. It's no secret that student housing is a huge issue in the community. The only way that this issue can truly be solved is by making it easier for students to live away from campus. And we can't live away from campus if we don't have accessible transit to actually get us from somewhere else in the city to campus. And the final point, which I think is honestly the most important, is graduate retention. The biggest criticism that I've heard these past 2 weeks as I've been vocal about light rail transit for students is that students are only here for 4 years. But the truth is, we'll only be here for 4 years if we can't stay after and don't see Hamilton as somewhere that we want to live in. In the Places to Grow Act, Hamilton's demographic from ages 20 to 39 is currently at just over 150,000, but it's due to grow past 200,000 by 2031, and it's due to be the largest growing and the largest demographic in the city. That can only happen if students at McMaster, students at Mohawk, and students from all over the country see Hamilton as a place that they want to grow their businesses and invest in. We're the demographic that doesn't want to buy a detached home and a car, or a demographic that wants to live downtown, somewhere that we can afford to eat, somewhere that we can afford to live, and somewhere we can afford to get around via accessible transit. I've only lived here for 4 years. I grew up in a rural community, and when I moved here, I was struck by the incredible growth and passion that I saw in this city, and it's somewhere that I want to make my home. And I hope today that you'll vote to move this project forward and include the students that I represent in Hamilton's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you very much. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. And very quickly, Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you so much, through you, to Blake and the MSU for their advocacy and for working with me over the past 2 years on LRT and a variety of other projects. Just to clarify, obviously, through you, Madam Chair, and I'm interested in Blake's response to this comment/question. Obviously, it's true that if and when we have LRT, I amend when we have LRT, students will have a quick, easy way to travel between campus and the downtown. That's good for the economy. And yes, it does alleviate some of the pressures on our student neighborhoods around McMaster. But I want to clarify, that moving students, or rather providing students with a way to choose to live downtown, for me is not one of the primary arguments for LRT. Yes, it's good, but it's deep. But to Blake's point, it's profoundly important that we
Councillor,
create a
is there
city.
a question here?
I'm working toward it, I promise. It's profoundly important that we create a city and a culture in which students feel welcome to live wherever, to choose to live wherever. And so my question is about this question about choice, and whether this isn't, and I'm kind of thinking out loud, is this not a good way? This is my question. Would it not be a good way to refine the argument about student choice and students living downtown and having a way to live downtown to say LRT is not about moving students out of Westdale Ainsleywood, but rather providing students with choice? I'm looking for some help refining the case, and I'll look to Blake for an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I think what I was specifically getting at is there's already some developments downtown specific to housing. I think there's one specific to graduate student housing that's due to go up shortly downtown. And the hope is that we'll see more options, like you said, for students who want to live outside Ward 1 and contribute to the city or live elsewhere in the city in the future.
I thank Blake for her leadership. Thanks for the opportunity, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Green?
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. And I was also very disappointed to see some of the responses, I think, really dismissing the student experience here. And you've presented some incredible points that are particular to the arguments. But if you could just for a moment speak to what that type of tone does to the student body when they're told they don't have skin in the game, they're transient, they're not going to be here. Well, what does that do to your friends in your circles in terms of their readiness and willingness to actually consider making Hamilton their home?
That's a great question. I think what's easy for us to see in the climate right now is that Kitchener-Waterloo is just down the road. Speaking for myself, I want to live in a city that I can get around in. I think there's lots of opportunities in Ontario for growth, and to my friends and my peers that are in the same positions as me, feeling like we're not welcome in Hamilton makes us look at the other options that are available for us in the close neighborhoods.
So very critically important for us to have that understanding. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Whitehead?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the undermining message, I just came from Kitchener as well. Yesterday did a tour. I think the underlying message I hear from most people, certainly residents that I've been engaged in, it really isn't with them about LRT. It's about having a dynamic, adaptive, comprehensive transit system that meets the needs of this community. Would you dispute that?
Is the question whether or not the reason KW is perhaps better suited to accommodate my generation because of their transit network itself and rather than the LRT specifically?
No, I think the point I'm making is that you can achieve a comprehensive transit network to meet the needs of the community, and those modes can take many different shapes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I would encourage Council to continue with the rest of the BLAST network after approving the B-Line LRT.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Farr.
No, actually, the delegate answered the question for me right there at the end. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. And, Madam, are there any further questions? Seeing none, Councillor Vanderby, can you take the chair? Blake, were you on CHML recently?
Yes, I was.
I just wanted to point out, if I may, that was such a respectful, intelligent interview. And we may be on different sides, but I have to say I was so incredibly impressed with the way that you stated your position. It was really a refreshing discussion and a presentation, and thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
Next is Joey Coleman.